Hello, and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Taryn McCarthy, and guys, today is such a great day! Woohoo! We are celebrating episode 200. Oh, I can't even believe those words just came out of my mouth. Today is a day of celebration. We are celebrating episode number 200. Oh my gosh, if you had told me 3 years ago that, Taryn, you will be a podcast host, you will be delivering incredible content to your colleagues, to men and women in dentistry and medicine and chiropractors, veterinarians, physical therapists, anybody who is healing and taking care of other people in their lives. You'll be inspiring millions of people with your words and welcoming experts on your show to talk about, get this, happiness. I mean, I would never have believed you. And here we are, episode 200. I have to say thank you. I really just want to genuinely thank you. Thank you for showing up for yourselves every single episode you listen to. Because if you are drawn to this podcast, then you care deeply about other people. You care deeply about making an impact and improving other people's lives. You care deeply about healing and transforming and supporting the people you love and your communities. And thank you for doing so. But if even more, at a greater depth, even more gratitude sits with me in the knowledge that if you're brought to this episode, to this podcast, you recognize the value of taking care of yourself, of putting on your oxygen mask first, of paying attention to your happiness and not just pushing through. The days are gone, my friend, where we can just follow the old paradigm of forcing and pushing and bypassing all emotion and just putting one foot in front of the other, blindly and without regard to how we feel. Because that was the old way. And it worked for a very long time. And yes, people's lives were improved and people were healed and teeth were straightened and teeth were fixed and people felt better. But we have realized in this new awakening that when we pay attention to ourselves as healthcare providers, as parents, as leaders of our teams, when we pay attention to ourselves and heal our own traumas first, then we can truly show up in service to others. So thank you. Thank you for seeing that truth, for knowing the power behind putting happiness first and the impact and the ripple effect that has on the world around us. Thank you. And thank you to the incredible men and women who have been gracing this stage, who have joined me in conversation to share their truth and to share their definition of happiness. And that's where we're going today to celebrate, guys. I am celebrating some of my favorite responses to my big question that I ask every episode. And I know you're all waiting until the end of the episode to hear the incredible guest's response. And the question every time is, what is your definition of happiness? Because if there's something I've learned over 200 episodes, is that every one of us has our own definition of success. Every one of us has our own definition of happiness. And when we can put aside our judgments of others, when we can put aside our judgment of ourselves and the perceived judgment that other people have towards us, then we can tap into what really matters for us, what success really looks like, what the goal really is, what happiness really is to each of us. So I've compiled this episode of snippets from several of your favorite interviewees as we explore what happiness means to them. And what you're going to find is there are some common threads. There are some really interesting similarities between people's answers, and then there are some drastic differences. Listen to see if you can find the thread. And at the end of the episode, I'll wrap up and tell you what I saw from these incredible men and women, all of them extremely successful in their own right. Very successful business owners, entrepreneurs, making huge waves in this world. We have some TEDx speakers. We have some incredible podcast hosts. We have some leaders who have held enormous conferences for thousands of people on the ocean, literally taking smiles to the sea. So you'll recognize some of your favorite faces and your favorite names in this episode. But what I'd love for you to do is find where you are in agreement. What lights you up? What do you find is singing a similar tune in your heart in terms of happiness? And then listen for a new perspective, maybe a new mindset in terms of happiness that you hadn't considered, a new way of looking at the world. So that being said, thank you again. Celebrate with me and share this episode with a friend. And welcome to What Does Happiness Mean to You, and what is your definition of happiness?
Happiness is time well spent. For me, success, happiness is the quality of my relationships. That's it. That's the liquid gold right there.
My definition of happiness is doing, being, and living in a way that is congruent and aligned for you.
Yes.
And only for you. There's no one else that you need to please but you. Mm. And as long as you can get up in the morning and look in that mirror and say, I am 100% authentically being me, doing me, and living me every day, that's happiness.
I think my new definition of happiness, and something I've started practicing recently, is learning to see small, tiny blips of happiness throughout the day, instead of waiting for these giant waves of big happiness to hit us, and learning to identify them by labeling them in my brain as they pop up. Like, oh, that's a silly thing, or that's a happy thing, or that makes me excited, or wasn't that delightful? These little tiny moments, even if it's all you're doing is seeing a cute pet dog or having a nice walk, and learning that happiness comes in different flavors. And that's actually a tool in my next book of like all the different flavors of happiness you go through in one day. It's a very multi-layered emotion, and you don't need to see it as just being one thing. It can be a lot of different little emotions.
My definition of happiness is family, creating memories, being in touch with who I am and my family, and spreading joy and light around the world. So yeah, be in every single interaction. I mean, my patients can tell you too, everything is a gift. So that's my definition of happiness. Everything is a gift. We get to enjoy and spread who we are with others. So, yeah.
So I kind of equate happiness with gratitude. And I say it's not what you have that makes you happy. It's appreciating what you have that makes you happy. Because so many of us have a lot and we're still miserable. And I think there are people in the world, and we know this for a fact, right, that have so little and they're just so joyful.
It's a state of being. It's a state of being that's lasting, you know, because I could be happy by saying affirmations for the next 30 seconds. But right after that, I can go back to this life, you know. But when you're, I'm not going to say content, there needs to be a level of joy. You need to be happy about what's going on around you, your situation, which means it's all day, not just in pockets of the day that you fight for, all day. That's my goal. That's why I get up and do all this every day. I'm retired. I don't have to do none of this, but I do it because I want everyone to feel like I feel, because this is amazing. I didn't feel like this for the first 28 years of my life. And once I got it, for one, I'm never going back. And for two, I need everyone to feel like this too. And that's why I do it, for that exact question you asked.
So happy. I can get there in 5 breaths. I just have to remember, I really can. Sometimes it's impeded by physical pain. I broke my neck when I was 18 years old and I have a spinal fusion. So my spine's a little wompy still, and bending over and looking upside down for a living is starting to take its toll. Gratitude makes me happy. What is my definition of happy? A poofy cat in my lap purring. My tomatoes that have crawled all over their cages. I have a tomato forest in my backyard, and it's only 6 plants. I put them a little too close together. It's a tomato forest. It really just being able to appreciate everything that we have. I mean, when I was 18, I broke C5 and I lost the feeling in my right arm. I shouldn't really be here. I'm really, really appreciative that I can feel the sun on my skin. 4 years ago, I felt like I was walking on Jell-O, and I took a month off of work, and I didn't know if I was going to go back. My staff didn't know if I was coming back. My patients, nobody. And I spent about a week not even being able to walk out of my house. My stress had just gotten that bad. No, I'm grateful for all the things, even the unpleasant things. Like, oh, there's a cat box right down there. That's okay. Wow. I notice it and I move on, and I'm grateful that I have cats. I am that crazy cat human, by the way.
Ooh, my definition of happiness. My definition of happiness is to be fully in the moment and welcome it. That would be it.
My definition of happiness is happiness is a ebb and flow, I think, for me. And that is that we can experience happiness at any point in life, and it's unconditional, and it's found in the most simplest of moments, regardless of the chaos around us.
My definition of happiness is the ability to experience such joy and fulfillment and really positive emotions within yourself that it radiates to other people around you, to where you're so positive and really you feel it to such a magnitude that the people around you become happier because of it. That is true happiness.
Great question. I love that. In recent days, what's really coming up strongly is peace. So happiness, it seemed to me before that, oh, I'm so happy. I'm around great people, making great memories. And then I realized that's chasing the high, and then, highs and lows, but rather it's finding peace through anything and everything, and recognizing that happiness is a choice. Peace, internal peace, is what makes it clear and what makes that choice possible or easier.
My definition of happiness is living in a way where I nourish and approve of myself, and where I then say, come with me. I'll show you how to as well. We can do this.
My definition of happiness is being content with what you have right in front of you. It's so easy to look in someone else's lane or look over the yard and want that thing or experience or what seems like a good relationship. But when you are really truly taking stock of what you have, and I guess that connects with incredible gratitude, there is so much, not just happiness, but overwhelming joy that comes with knowing and seeing what you what you have.
I think my definition of happiness is when you can, like, every single day pursue your life goals and feel fulfilled and content.
For me, happiness has to come from inside. It's not going to be affected by material things, by everything going perfectly. It has to do with how I react to things. That's the only thing I really have control over.
My definition of happiness is making decisions based on what feels good.
My definition of happiness is contentment with where I am. Contentment, honoring where I've come from and being optimistic and excited and eager for what's coming, but very at peace with the present moment. That's my idea of happiness.
When I'm happiest, it's inward. It feels like calm, but it also feels like joy, but it's not woohoo kind of joy, right? Because we all have friends who are like woohoo joy, and and they want me to be, and like I am happy. I feel it inside. So for me, and I can get woohoo and loud and excited too. I mean, that's fun, but happiness for me is it's even. Happiness for me is I don't know how to better to say it than like it's that understanding that life is good and that you're just walking forward each step knowing that like it feels good. I feel like I'm in joy. I feel like in gratitude, right? When you can look around and you can see, man, I'm blessed. That's happiness to me. It's not something someone gives me. It's a place that I can arrive at anytime I control what happens between these.
My definition of happiness is when my insides and my outsides match.
Happiness for me now is just really all about love, loving others and loving myself. You did a podcast on love and I listened to that, and that was just had so much resonance, because happiness is when you have the freedom to just love yourself so deeply, love others so deeply. There's nothing richer, in my opinion, than love. And love is the greatest source of happiness to me. So for me, after my divorce, I just really learned how to love myself differently. And that has led to so much happiness because it all starts with me. My happiness all starts with me. And if I can really love and accept myself, I'm unstoppable.
Oh, my definition of happiness. So I like to do a little thing that Brene Brown does, which is take a snapshot of a moment in time that brings you joy. So my moment of joy and happiness is sitting in the sun. I love the sun. I'm a warm weathered girl. Sitting in the sun with my husband by my side and my two girls, laughing, enjoying each other's company, and just feeling content with where I'm at. That's happiness for me.
My definition is saving one life a day.
My definition of happiness is finding balance within my family life, within my business life, and friendships, community. Finding balance in all of that is my definition of happiness.
But for me, I distinguish happiness and joy. Happiness is definitely it's a condition. It's a place that brings me to, and so for me, I'm happiest when I either doing something I enjoy and fun, or I'm with people that I love, or doing work that matters to me. I have joy because I'm grateful for the privilege to get up every morning and do what I do. Even when I'm unhappy, I can still be joyful.
I think my definition of happiness is
aligning again with my authenticity. When I feel like I was myself today, I was Pripo. In this conversation, in this interaction, I felt that I showed myself. I was aware and allowed myself to allow the other person in. Uh, I get juiced by that. That creates a lot of happiness for me of just showing up authentically and having an authentic encounter. If I could do that, and it's wonderful being a therapist because I get to guide that a little bit throughout my day. I'm having intimate, real conversations, and if people don't know how to do that, I help guide them there. So in some way, that's happiness for me of doing that, and but having the equality of relationships with people, because the therapeutic relationship is a little different. When I have the equality relationships and have those authentic moments with people, that's happiness.
Happiness is when you are able to surf the waves. So when we're dealing with our emotions, which we're dealing with all the time, it's so easy to drown in them. But if you can learn to be a surfer of those thoughts and emotions so that you don't get pulled under by them, you don't get drowned by them, and you're actually able to ride the waves of your life, then everything that comes at you, you know you can deal with. And you have the ability to be really well within whatever is going on. And that would be my definition of happiness.
I think happiness is peace. And obviously that's mental peace, right? When you say to yourself, I'm good with this, right? When you don't, I'm a pretty ambitious person. I want to go to that next level, not because I need the title, the status, but it's because going back to your God-given potential, right? I'm in a group with people who are higher level. I'm thinking, can I get to that level? Same as them. Of course, now I'm smarter. Do I actually need that level, right? But it's always a little bit, I want to get to that level. I want just to try to see if I can get there. And being happy is, I'm good right now. I'm happy with this. Let me just enjoy this wherever I'm at.
What is my definition? I mean, serotonin, a smile. Serotonin. Everybody. Most people know what not happy is, right? Sad, depressed, rock bottom. I've been there twice in my life, right? Happiness is the opposite. Happiness is excited to wake up, super excited for the day, smiling. The serotonin that's running in your brain, right? That's happiness to me. Not sad. I'm happy 95% of the time,
Just like that. That is so beautifully said. Well, there you have it, my friends. Some of my favorites from recent episodes of what does happiness mean to you? What is your definition of happiness? And if you listened, I wonder if you saw some of the similar threads that I did. One of the things that I noticed is how enormous gratitude and appreciation plays, what a big role that plays in our experience of happiness and being grateful for what is and the world that is around us. That seems to play a huge part in most people's definition of success and definition of happiness. Another one that I heard throughout people's responses is this being in touch with self and appreciation and love for yourself. That's such a big one. Recognizing and honoring who you are, being able to show up as yourself in your true, authentic truth, and having an honor and a sense of compassion and love for yourself in that way. That really rings true for me in terms of happiness as well. And then being fully present in the moment. Another little common thread in most people's answer is being present enough to appreciate the moment and to let all that noise aside, to block out all the external interferences and be present in the moment. Well, there you have it. Episode 200. 200 episodes that I am so grateful for, to each of these incredible people who graced the stage and who honored me with a conversation, really challenging our ideas about success and happiness. And I look forward to the next 200. And thank you again for being a part of this journey. I am honored and humbled with every single person that ever downloads an episode. And thank you again for challenging yourself to think of success differently and to redefine what happiness looks like to you.